So I'm at the airport, Queenstown. Look at that view. Beautiful weather. Now that is a tree. And this is just outside of the airport of Queenstown. There's a dog making some noise down there. Truly beautiful sight. This is Lake Wakatipu. People do go out onto the lake. And that over there is Queenstown. Well, this is where I'm staying, Queenstown. Lovely spot right on the lake. What a great reveal he was. Someone's not ready. Well, that's because the airport's just down there. Good timing. So you got the snow and then the lake here. Lovely little spot, but you can probably make out how busy the water does get there. And it's at the foot of the Remarkables. I think they made it into the film Lord of the Rings. Anyway, this is a great spot to talk about the very brief 2 months that I've been on BookTube. And what have I learned? If anything. And I'm sat here with my wife, who's trying desperately not to be heard on the film. Would you like to say hello?
Or make any rude comments.
For the first time ever. And, okay, so what have I learned? Well, BookTube is a community. I've known about it for some time and finally took the plunge, but it's about the people. Because of all the times I've been on YouTube or whatever, it's the only time where, as soon as I went on, dozens of people commented and said hello and did a reach out. It's the acceptance of that. By the way, this is Lake Wakatipu, part of it. So it's the people. And I hope you don't take this the wrong way. I include myself in this. Someone's going by. Because everyone's got a love of books, they're slightly eccentric. Which I think is fantastic. You think I'm eccentric, don't you, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're eccentrics who encourage people coming onto the tube and saying hello. It's a wonderful experience. And they're like guardians of often overlooked literature, which is a wonderful thing, because some of the books would just be completely forgotten. And therefore they should be applauded for that. It's not all about the new. And it's about the kind of books and authors we like. And I think that's a wonderful thing. Certainly in the group, admittedly small group, that I've got to know so far, actually must be my age, because they're very similar, or towards that, and similar in outlook. And that's the alarm going off, which is a very New Zealand thing. It's the fire station. It's either that or they've got dinner ready. And also, and it has booked my expectations, there's more men on BookTube now than I would have thought there would have been. And that's a very pleasant surprise. So it's increasingly of interest beyond which I thought it was 5 years ago. And that's nothing to say there's a problem with being women. And again, it's a wonderful thing. So I've learned a lot. And it's been a great surprise. And I probably will do this in a year from now to see if what I've learned in a year. This lake is only a very small part of Lake Wakatipu. And the thing about this part of the world, it's the adventure capital of the world, and I'll do some more recording as we go along the other side of the lake towards Queenstown. We're the opposite side of that now. So if you come to New Zealand, this is possibly one of the places you'd want to visit. For skiing, I think there's the Remarkables, which is over to my right. But we're coming to the end of the season now, it's coming into spring. Surprisingly warm weather. You got Cardrona and Coronet. There's quite a few ski fields here. But it's also bungee jumping, which is I think one of the first places in the world that did it. There's jet skis, there's a thing called the shot over jet. There's so many things you can do here. And it's also great pub scene and restaurants. Book-wise, anybody who likes adventure books, I suppose. I'm trying to think of anything I could link to this, but I don't know any. Oh, and here's a jet coming out now. Perfect timing. Better not get us wet. Hey! Woo! Well, there you go. That's the shot over jet. Yeah. Off it we. Thanks a lot. Oh my god, we better get the booze off. Woo-hoo. Well, point made. Now it's coming back, we moved. Over there you just get a feeling of Queenstown. It literally is quite long and narrow at this point until it fans out the other side of the lake. So beautiful spot, and here is again. Woohoo! We've also got two guests, Joe. Tell you what, they can be vicious. I got chased by black swans in Perth, Australia. Obviously I haven't got any little ones. Look at the waves. Marvellous. But anyway, beautiful spot. Get down here if you can. And this is the evening. What time is it? About 5:30. And what could be more perfect? Oh yes. I'm not sure I'll go swimming just yet. So we're going to be walking around here into Queenstown. That's where we're staying at the hotel. That's where we are now. We're going to have breakfast. There. And that's the views yet. Queenstown. A plane. There's one coming in now to the airport. That's loud. Now that is a view. Funny enough, looking at it with my eyes and not the camera is far more impressive with the eyes. I think the camera condenses it slightly, but what a magnificent shot. Yeah, this couldn't be Scotland. Oh, it could. What do you reckon, Joe? You've been to Scotland many times?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
It's a lot of gorse, pines.
So walking along Queenstown, Lake Wakatipu to the left. And I've been reading, is it A Room of One's Own?
Virginia Woolf.
They were lecture notes, weren't they? I'm walking with my wife, who knows the book very well. It's one of your favourite books, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got some runners home.
Yeah, some runners coming.
Thank you.
You're what?
Thank you.
Think about Queenstown, you get a lot of runners through here. So the book is interesting. I've never read it before. And I got to the part where she starts in Oxbridge, and she's shut out of places. Like the library. And then she's in London, and she's seeing all these books in the British Museum of all places, not the library. And they're all dominated by men. So, just a couple of things. She talks about that women don't write books for men. Which, is that true? Am I correct?
Yeah, probably in that era, possibly.
Yeah.
The key, though, is that what she's not finding are women's names on the books, but behind the covers, there are women in the background supporting the men.
Yeah. That's right. So, Wuthering Heights, it was not written for men. And of course, the people at the time hated that book because it was like a mirror to their society, wasn't it? The way women were treated, men. I mean, Heathcliff's not a pleasant man. But she talks of Mary Seacombe. Who the hell was that? Who's Mary Seacombe? You don't know? No, don't know either. That'll be edited out.
No, I'm thinking of Mary Seacole, but it's not the same, is it?
Interesting book. A lot to talk about. It's been an eye-opener for myself. And what I never realised is how she ended her life. Because I'm reading Ariel about Shelley. It was the same. And must be something of the age. Something had happened.
Yeah, but she's left a nice legacy. Don't forget she was part of the Bloomsbury set.
Yeah,
So very creative, very artistic.
yeah.
And if you go to her house, she's got glorious, very well-to-do, but glorious garden. And there's still sort of the legacy of her books.
She talks about that, doesn't she? She was well off. She got a lot of money from gifted to her, so she didn't have to work the drudgery of some of the jobs she says. And I picked up very quickly that I don't think she could have written that book before World War One. She talks about luncheon parties before the war. And it was a different sensibility, wasn't it? Even the way people wrote, but afterwards it had changed. The war had almost stripped away the old world. This is World War One. So,
Yeah, but a key takeaway, and I think it's for most of us, is that you have £500 for the year then, and a room of your own, so you've got your own space to create.
yeah,
And I think for a lot of people it's just finding that space, and if you've just got some funds to support what you're doing, you can be free to do anything.
yeah. So, something to talk about. And thanks to the disembodied voice of my lovely wife, Jo. Say hello.
Hello.
On the track that's leading into Queenstown. The road is up there. I thought it'd be an ideal opportunity to talk about books and how lucky we are to have them. Because they're quite precious things, aren't they? Because we've not always had books. I read a book, ironically. How many times can I say book in one sentence? I read a book recently by Irina Vallejo called Papyrus. And she talks about the history of books. Because, of course, it wasn't always books. It was an oral tradition where stories handed down. So think of Homer and the Iliad. There's a lot of instances where he was using three. Diomedes 3 times was rushing into the battle. 3 times Zeus threw down lightning bolts. And that use of 3 indicates an oral tradition. Because the people hearing something said 3 times, they know that that's important. Also innate to memory. But then suddenly, over time, slowly, because people began to travel or were travelling, took those stories with them and probably had an aide-memoire which they would write down on a tablet or chisel it into stone and then papyrus. And there was a lot of papyrus scrolls, unfortunately lost over time because people wanted to destroy them, or they just mouldered away naturally, or there was fire. Think of the library at Alexandria. Some water here is making some noise. And we don't know how much we've lost, but incalculable amounts, shocking amounts of books that we've lost. You see the mountains peeking through there. This is springtime in Queenstown, and this is the track that goes along Lake Wakatipu into the town itself. So we've lost so much, more than we will ever know. But there came a period where paper was started to be made and then transmitted into books, and we've managed to keep hold of old knowledge better. But you know, there's always been instances, aren't there, in history where people still want to get rid of what's contained on the books. Even in most recent times. My grandmother's time, where they were burning books in Germany. And they still want to ban books now in places. Because what is often contained on books is considered seditious or dangerous to people in charge. So books are very precious things, and we should look after them. And be mindful of when we pick up a book. Okay, I butcher them to death with my annotations and highlighting, but there'll be other copies. It's not like it's the only copy. We shouldn't get too precious with the printed book now because there's so many. But what we have, we should protect and look after and remember. They say you die twice. You die physically, and then you die when no one's talking about you. Same with books. Some languish on shelves, totally forgotten. And of course, it's one of those things you'll never get to read every single book that's ever been made. It's impossible. So you have to be selective. So this is just a walk and talk about how precious these things are, which is why we do BookTube. That's why we are talking about them. We're guardians, aren't we, of the written word. So all praise to those who look after them and want to talk about them. It's a wonderful thing. So walking on this track to Queenstown, wasn't expecting to do any more filming. We're just getting towards Queenstown, and this is a hotel. But what have they got in here? Oh, Hannibal. A token of friendship. The Mammoth Hunters. Nice. These are worldwide, aren't they? Lilliput Library. Lovely. I have no doubt I'll be recording as we go further up the spine of these mountains. You can't imagine now that they would have filmed Lord of the Rings anywhere else. And this is being filmed blind. I haven't got yet to thinking about recording the next bit from Lord of the Rings, but it will be about Strider, where they meet him in Bree. And of course, this isn't anything like Bree. It's more like the Misty Mountains. Got a beautiful shot. I'm going to pan round, avoiding my wife who sat just down here. This is Queenstown and the backcountry behind. There's a tui being very loud. And I'm just going to walk to the side because you can see up there is where they do the luge for the mountains. Doing some work up there. And paragliding. It is the adventure capital of the world. And that is the sound of a dog who is absolutely constantly in the lake here. Like Labrador, and they love water, don't they? Showing off with that stick now. So, Queenstown. It's got a almost Asian look to it sometimes. Got to be careful where I walk, 'cause I'm next to the edge of the lake. And I was trying to show you a boat, but it seems to have disappeared. This is it. And it often goes underwater. It's called a shark boat. And when it gets to deep enough water, it submerges and then comes up again. It's amazing to see. But I don't know if I'm going to catch it doing that. As soon as I turn off, it'll probably do it. And this is Queenstown. The actual lake front. It goes back quite a way that way. Last time we was here 2 years ago, they were doing all the beautification of the place, redoing the roads. Not sure if they've been completed. There's really some nice pubs along here, and fooderies, as you can imagine. Zoom out rather than zoom in. And it's busy because we are coming out the ski season. We're coming into the adventure season for most tourists who want to come and get fine weather. And it is hot. It's only about 12-13 degrees, but because of the lack of ozone, the sun hits you like a mule. Very, very pleasant. So welcome to Queenstown. So Queenstown is restaurants, pubs. There's a mall here that you can go through. That is the oldest steamship still working in the southern hemisphere, T.S. Earnslaw. Let's go for a wander through here. This boat takes you out onto the lake and to a farm where the kids can pet animals. That's the coal to make it work. It's nicely done, Queenstown, and it stretches quite a way back. It's about 4 or 5 different streets. It can be quite steep. Blossom trees everywhere. Very nicely done. But with this view, you can see how steep it can get up to the top of that ridge there. So this is 2 streets back from the lake front. Now there's always busy traffic here. Queenstown's well known for its Ferg burger. That's the queue outside. Wherever you are in Queenstown, you're going to get wonderful views. There's going to be mountains if you look up. And this is spring. And it's starting to get really busy now. The summer here is different to the winter. Let's not be precious about them. Currently, there's a lot of videos about do not finish, and is that a bad thing? No. Finish after the first page if it doesn't resonate. In fact, very rarely have I come across a book that I've read all the way through. I'm doing that now more and more with BookTube. But it's not something that I think you should be worried about. Sometimes I don't finish watching a movie. Don't always finish a meal. So it's the same with books. I don't think that's a problem. It's what pleases you. The building. So this is my time in Queenstown. We'll be off next to Arrowtown, because there's something I want to talk about. Lord of the Rings. They did some filming. If you want him, come and claim him. That's all for now.